Several people have asked me about metaphysics and why I discount metaphysics so promptly or whatever. And it's an interesting thing. I mean, I have a very straightforward definition of metaphysics. It may not be, a lot of people are like, well, you should use the definition all of us have. But I don't think all of you have a definition. And basically it comes down to something like this: the extensional and intentional analysis of a term. The extension of a term is basically when you use the term like a name. We notice a pattern in our sense perceptions and we give it a name. So for example, we've had a lot of experiences that people put in a metaphysical category. They see a pattern that relates to other metaphysical experiences. They call all those things metaphysical. And I'm not denying that extension, that there are those experiences and we're calling them metaphysical. But then there's also, for a term, an intentional meaning, the kind of meaning that you would get in a dictionary. And it's the intentional definition of metaphysical that I'm rejecting. Now, the people that have a problem with this are two kinds. I mean, one are people that adopt, a classical idea of metaphysics, and they just believe in metaphysics, like from their theism or whatever. They believe that there is this spirit world that's not physical. Other people are atheistic, and they've pretty much given up on all the theistic metaphysics, but they're careful enough, and I really do appreciate that they're careful enough to realize there's metaphysics in our regular reasoning. For example, one that has been pointed out to me is a belief in cause and effect. But see, I don't believe that cause and effect is a metaphysical principle. I mean, people are saying you have to have this in order to put the knowledge that you're getting in place. You have to have this metaphysical idea of cause and effect in order to identify the cause and effect. Well, you do have to have this idea of cause and effect in order to fit your perspectives into that framework. But that doesn't mean that cause and effect is a metaphysical concept. I mean, I think, just like all of our other knowledge, an idea of cause and effect came to us from processing our perceptions. Over millions of years, we evolved an idea of cause and effect, probably before we were even human. If you think, as I do, animals show sign of understanding that there's cause and effect in their very basic behavior. So this idea of cause and effect still came from the physical world. It still comes from our perceptions. And this is why it's important the way I define epistemology, because all knowledge comes from our senses. The very word physical does not mean what we think, that it's an external world. We'd like it to mean that. But looking at the extension of things we call physical, we can see what we really know about them comes from our senses. So things that are physical because they're interacting with us. If it can interact with us, then it is physical. If it can give us perceptions, then it's physical. Okay, so if you see a ghost, I mean, there's a lot of explanations for what you might have really seen, but let's just assume, yeah, it really was a ghost. Fine, it would not be metaphysical. If you really saw a ghost, then ghosts are not metaphysical. I mean, ghosts may not be made of the kind of matter you and I are made of. It might be a different kind of energy. Who knows? But whatever it is, it's some physical process, some process in physics that can lead to photons striking my retina, or even, I don't know, ghost photons striking my brain directly, or my third eye, or some sense organ, I don't even know about. But there has to be something there. It's interacting with us. That's what defines what's physical. And so everything will be physical. And so, metaphysics is anything that claims there's a world disconnected to us that we are actually interacting with somehow, though. The idea that they're ghosts and they're metaphysical, but somehow they're still interacting with us. And I'm saying what makes something physical is its ability to interact with us. So I don't believe in metaphysics because it's incoherent. It's saying that there's a world we're interacting with that we can't interact with. And that makes no sense. So that's what I mean when I say there's no metaphysics. And it's also why that doesn't mean that I discount every experience that somebody classifies as metaphysical, because this is the process of learning. We notice a pattern in nature. We see a blob of colors over and over. We see a pattern. We call that pattern a coyote. Later on, we come up with intentional definitions based on morphology, based on genetics, based on whatever we can come up with to describe in an algorithmic way what should be in this extension. But that doesn't separate the fact that we actually get that extension just using whatever our natural pattern recognition is in the mind. So it's the same thing with a coyote, a physical object. It's the same thing with metaphysical or spiritual experiences. We have these experiences. There's an extension. We have given it a name, like metaphysics or spirituality. But it can't be metaphysical, because metaphysics doesn't really make sense. We're talking about things that are interacting with us. We're talking about things we know because of our perceptions. Therefore, we're talking about physical things.